Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our special guest is Workforce Development Director Chef Lynn. Also, the V-Team takes a look at prison investigation. And the Ethics Commission is not subject to the ethics laws.
Vouchers? We ain't got no vouchers. We don't need no vouchers. I don't have to show you any stinking vouchers.
Ethics laws? We don't need no stinking ethics laws. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V.
The Voice of Alabama Politics, with your host, Bill Brett. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome all.
How's it going?
It is so good to see you back, Jackson.
Well, you know, I thought after 3 weeks that things would have changed, but I think it's gotten worse.
You did bring some nice fall weather for us, though, on your way back.
Yeah,
and
always,
cedar fever, too, so.
Well, that's what happens in Texas, you know.
Yeah, that and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, well.
It's not as bad as Alabama.
No, well, listen, it just, you know, it just keeps getting worse. I know we say that every week, but it's like, can y'all just stop digging the holes?
I mean, really.
This week, we over at the Alabama Political Reporter, we were able to bring to people's attention that the Ethics Commission, Claire, is not subject to the ethics laws. How about that?
Well, okay, I'm going to say it's definitely egregious. I mean, that is unreal that the Ethics Commission does not have to abide by the ethics law.
No, it's bizarre, Jack. I mean,
Are those people are not paid, are they?
No.
I mean, they're traveling and stuff, but they're not paid a salary.
But they're not.
But they still fall under the definition of a public official.
Sure.
No, they do not.
They
do
do
not.
not?
That's the problem. A public official is clearly defined, and so is a public employee. That's why they cannot.
There you go.
And how I didn't know this, but how I discovered it was Judge Charlie Price voted with a conflict of interest at the last Ethics Commission meeting, and I thought, Judge Price just committed a felony. And come to find out, no, he can vote with a conflict of interest all he wants to.
He knew what he was doing.
He did. You know, and this all had to do, Jack, with money going to the chamber from the city of Montgomery, and they've been doing that for years, haven't they?
As far as I know, I mean, I think in their budget every year they allocate a certain amount to go to the chamber for, you know, promoting the city and everything.
I don't think that's abnormal. I think that's pretty common throughout the state.
Yeah, some cities do it, some don't. I think they tried to get rid of it under Bright, and Bright saw how positive it was because Emory Fulmer used it like a campaign tool, right, Jack?
The city has never been the same, sadly enough.
But there's still the Ethics Commission should still be subjected to the ethics law.
But and that's the crazy thing. They're not. Neither are the board members of the universities, the state universities, Alabama, Auburn, ASU. These guys are not. They can be conflicted, but I mean, I think that's something that needs to be changed.
Well, and also, didn't y'all find out that the PSC was not?
Right.
Now
Jack, your
that
favorite
really is a little
institution?
dumbfounding.
Your favorite institution?
Now those are elected
of all
officials.
people that need to be under the ethics law, it's the Public Service Commission with Jeremy and Chip Beaker over there. Good God Almighty!
I hope that.
Tell us how you really feel.
I hope Speaker McCutcheon and Pro Tem Marsh and all those guys will take a look at this law and say, wait a minute. Those ethics laws, what were we thinking? We left these people out.
Your hopes are a little too high, Bill, I'm afraid.
You know, but I hear Mac McCutcheon's been traveling the state, meeting with folks, and everybody's really, really pleased. I think he's going to have to get somebody as an enforcer, though, because I hear he's going to see everybody, and I don't know how he's going to do all that. This week, we were, to some people's delight and other people's chagrin, we hired Josh Moon, away from the Montgomery Advertiser. They had a parting of the ways, and Josh is on board with APR. He will sometime be a guest on The V. But Jack, you've known Josh for a long time, and
I have, and had him on our radio show back in the day. He certainly offers a differing opinion. He would not be mainstream Alabama when it comes to politics.
No, he's not.
And he'll tell you. I mean, he's an unabashed liberal, and that's great.
Well, it's be interesting because, I mean, thank God for you and I, Jack. That's all I can say. You know, I've always been a Republican. Sometimes people call you and I French Republicans. I don't necessarily think so, but we've been going a little bit to the left, but thank goodness you and I think with our weights, we can pull them back to the right.
I think
We're
no
working
question
on that,
about
but, you know,
that.
Well,
the
I'm
thing
glad
is,
y'all have a big elephant sitting on your lap.
No, Josh is smart, and he's a very good investigative reporter.
Right. And the main reason we hired him was for the investigative reporting, and we felt that a voice
needs to be heard. It's the first amendment by the Founding Fathers for a reason. They found it very important that every voice be heard, and that's where we want to be, with where we are.
Okay, you're getting on your soapbox.
I
That's a little too much.
I am.
You
But
got Joey Kennedy writing.
There's a reason for that.
Is there something about being a liberal writer that makes all your hair fall out?
But no, I mean, I look forward to him and reading his articles. I find them intriguing, and I look forward to having a very healthy, great debate when he shows up on the
well,
video.
and you know, one of the things
Exactly,
that
the debate.
one of the things I got well over 200 emails and texts, and from some of our conservative friends who said, I don't agree with the word he ever writes, but I like him and I respect his right to say so. The other interesting thing, I think, Claire, is that, you know, we've been trying to hire conservative columnists, but there's not that many in the state. There's only basically two, and Cameron Smith is kind of more of a policy guy. It's just been tough to find. But I think we're going to work with Terry Lathan and try to line up a roster of good conservatives to come on. I know your friend Perry Hooper is going to have a column, or had a column, I think it was, this week on his support of Donald Trump.
No, I'm sure he did.
And I think Josh Moore's already gotten under Jonathan's skin enough that he's willing to write a response.
Well, see, that's good. That's what it's all about, is get everybody talking.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be a marketplace for ideas.
Well, speaking of Trump's, you know, this week, Little Junior came to Montgomery at the last minute, and then, of course, was in Birmingham on Friday at the club trying to raise some money.
Right. Well, then, you know, Trump has got Alabama sewn up, lock,
no
stock, and,
doubt.
as Claire would say, 2 barrels smoking. I wanted to talk just a minute. You know, I don't want to give too much away, but in the next couple of weeks, we're coming up with a new program. It's not a program per se, but it's going to be a video product on the website, and we're going to be talking about some very big ideas with some very important people, and then they will be on the show as well. So it's just going to be kind of exciting. That's something that's working. What's still not working, Susan, is stars.
Oh, heavens forbid people get paid in this state. I mean, we're talking about people not getting paid for their payroll. Never mind the fact that once it's been submitted, there was a fee there to begin with. If you resubmit it, which they're having to do again, there's another fee. So they're being the agencies are being double charged for flaws in the system.
Well, Jack, you know, finance is making out like a bandit because they get all that extra money.
Well, let's give Clinton a chance. He hadn't been over there long.
Wait a minute, yeah, he's just jumped in the
stepped
frying
in it
pan.
big time.
Yeah.
He's
He
still
did.
wiping his shoe off, let me tell you. It's a mess of this Stars, what was it, a $43 million
47,
software system that doesn't work?
And Jack, the people are complaining. One of the biggest complaints is that it's taking the work off of the finance department. Meanwhile, it's doubling their income.
Well, that sounds like the state of Alabama. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
The edifice of efficiency.
I'm John Merrill. As your Secretary of State, I want to ensure that every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of Alabama is registered to vote and has a qualified government-issued photo ID. You can register to vote by downloading our app for your iPhone or your Android, or you can visit alabamavotes.gov. We want you to be registered to vote and have a photo ID. You can make a difference. We'll see you at the polls.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Today, our special guest is Jeff Lynn, the state's new Director of Workforce Development. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be here today with you.
Well, we're pleased to have you. I don't want to embarrass you, but your reputation, you're kind of the rock star of economic development. The things you've done in Louisiana have just been lauded all over the country. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? You're an
Sure.
Alabama boy.
Yeah, I grew up in Alabama, and after college, I went to Atlanta for 25 years and worked in medical device manufacturing and then economic workforce development. Governor Jindal went into office, and they needed a workforce program, so they recruited me to come down and start a program there. And it was a great team effort. We had a lot of collaborative efforts with not only our team, but other state agencies and other groups that we worked with, schools, the K through 12, 2-year, 4-year. So if you look at what we did, it was a great collaborative team effort to build what we had there. What's exciting about coming to Alabama is that we had that all teed up here as well. So
Right.
we're going to have a great collaborative effort between K through 12, 2-year, 4-year, economic development, commerce, et cetera, to do the same thing.
And what's the real goal here? I mean, if we have to break it down for our viewers, what's the end goal?
So the key to us being successful is finding out exactly, pinpoint, laser point, what companies need for their employees to have as far as skills, competencies, behaviors, and technical abilities. Then we need to deliver it at a world-class level. And we need to focus on that where it's flexible, where it's nimble, where it's 24/7, and where it's exactly what the companies need for us to do. And we need to do it with innovation, with technology, and we need to do it quicker than businesses can do it. And we need to do it better than they can do it.
So if I'm a student coming out of high school and I want to go to one of our community colleges, that's where I'm going to get the training? Is that how it works?
Well, the design will be that more schools will offer dual enrollment. So a lot of the programs that you might find at a 2-year level, hopefully will be pushed down into the high schools. So we can target those kids that are regularly go to, instead of going to 4-year school, they may go to a career track.
Right.
And so we get them focused on that where they can articulate that to a 2-year school, finish that, go to work, or articulate that to a 4-year school and
Right.
finish this, and maybe even go to a PhD.
And these are high-paying jobs we're looking at.
Absolutely.
These are well-paying jobs.
They're all STEM-based. If you go back to 3rd grade, 2nd grade, it's all focused on STEM. Even welding, advanced manufacturing technology, composite building, working on aircraft, working on industry related to marine technology, et cetera. It's all based on STEM with rigor. And we have to have that rigor with math, science, et cetera, for these people to be successful. But the average pay is going to be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year coming out of these programs.
That's good money. You
Yeah.
can live a good life in Alabama on that kind of money.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going into this. There's a lot of people that are risking this. You, they say, are the guy to do it. And we want to know a little bit, it's, at least from my standpoint, who are the companies that we are looking to start with first?
Well, you go with the economic drivers. So
Okay.
you look at the largest companies that create the largest amount of high wage, high occupation, high demand jobs. So you focus on them, but you can't forget all the other companies. And I think the way that the state has set up all of their workforce councils across the state, that gives us leverage conduits to get to those companies, whether you're 2,000 employees or 15 employees.
Right.
The person with 15 employees is just as important as the 2,000 person in my book.
Right.
And so we got to focus on those, and we got to make sure that the programs that we offer through workforce development, whether it be at a campus or at a one-stop, if you will, location, has to have the rigor, has to have the technology, and has to have the capability to deliver without question.
Can you give us an example or two of how this has worked in Louisiana? Can you point to some successes?
Absolutely. So I'll give you one example. It was a very competitive company that we were looking at. They looked at many states. The company is Bentler Steel. They looked at Alabama. They looked at many other states. And so what we did is we came to them with a really inclusive type of a solution to their workforce needs. We created an advanced manufacturing technology training center. We built it on the campus of a 2-year college. It was about $22 million, including equipment. We actually purchased equipment that they would use in their production floor, actually put that in the back of their company, back of that school, and train their technicians, their maintenance people, how to operate, how to do safety inspections on there, how to shut it down, do maintenance, et cetera on that. And so that's one aspect of it. So we were able to build that advanced manufacturing training center there in that school, but also service all the other companies in that area. So we brought advanced manufacturing technology there like they never had it before. But we leveraged that economic win to do that.
So this is the idea of a state investing in technology and education to help their citizens make more money and they can pay more tax dollars. Is that kind of it?
That's it. Well, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. So actually, we create wealth by creating jobs, but also the technology piece is to get the millennials excited about it, getting into those career options. Manufacturing is not what it used to be in the 50s.
Right.
You can go in and really have a really high-paying job, and then come home clean, and do whatever. And so, using technology like iPads to deliver training versus a textbook is the key.
Yeah, right. And well, as you and I were talking before we started the interview, everything has changed and rapidly. You feel good about the situation and the folks here in Alabama to be home?
Absolutely. It's such a warm feeling to be back home, for number one. But number two, it's just a warm feeling to look at what really our government leaders, our community leaders, and also our educational leaders in commerce across the state have put together as far as a conduit for us to get and have a seat at the table to get things done. There's going to be a lot of collaboration for us to be successful, and I'm really excited about the opportunity.
I often complain that our people are undereducated, underemployed, and I think this may be the solution, right?
It's going to be a help for it. We look at the pipeline of new people coming in too, but we have a huge population for adults that we need to get back and get them a credential and get them employed. Going back to your comment about creating wealth, creating taxes, if we don't do that, we're only going to kid ourselves.
Sure. And, good job solves a multitude of problems.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you for being on our show today, and welcome back home. And we're glad you joined us on The V.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure being here today. Thank you.
You're watching The V. Our guest today has been Jeff Lynn, Director of Workforce Development for the state of Alabama. We'll be right back.
I'm Charles Barkley. As an impact player on the court in college and the NBA, it was very important for me to make a difference in the game. I feel the same way about decisions made in my home state of Alabama and in our nation. That's why I'm registered to vote. I want to encourage you to be registered to vote and make sure you bring your voter ID to the polls. Let's make a difference.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. I think this workforce development program is going to be very, very good for the state. I certainly, Jeff Lynn is quite the professional.
It seems very promising.
Didn't anybody warn him this is a pay-to-play state?
Well,
poor son of a gun.
He survived.
Well, he came from Louisiana,
Yeah.
but he had a good governor, Bobby Jindal, over there. But anyway, I think he's very impressive.
He's from
I think
Alabama,
he's gonna do a great job.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, he's an Auburn grad, Jack. What more can I say?
Well,
Well,
here we go
you
again.
can't have everything.
Not everything comes out of Lee County's great, Claire.
Yeah, we know. Well, then he got a master's at the University of
Okay.
Georgia, so he's evened out.
He's an orange bulldog.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, there you go. This week, Chief Justice Roy Moore asked that all the files in his removal case be opened, unsealed, and our impression is, and from talking to people in the background, that if that happens, we may see how politically this actually was, Susan.
Yes, we may. And again, just based on the Court of the Judiciary's ruling, the way that they reprimanded him, you can see right there that is this very political process that has taken an elected official out of his position.
Right,
Well, they didn't remove him, Claire.
Right, they just cut his legs off and put him in the same position without removing him. And I think that he's right. I think that this all should be unsealed and open for people to know what's going on, because there's going to be some things, a little rats running around.
Well, particularly since we don't even know who's on the Court of the Judiciary. We don't know who's on the JIC that brought the charges, to referred it to. I mean, it's all a little secretive process, and that is not what we need to be doing in Alabama.
It's not transparent.
Whether you think he did something wrong or you think he did what was right, the question that I have in my mind is, let's get it all out in the open.
That's right.
If it really was a fair process, let's just see it.
I also have a problem with a 501c3 organization, the Southern Poverty Law Center, sending the charge to the JIC to investigate it. That's too political.
It is, and of course, we all know they're left to Attila the Hun, and of course we know Judge Roy is very conservative, and I just think there's a lot of politics. So I say, open up the book, let's see what's out there, and I just think that's the only fair thing, to have justice.
Did you know Attila the Hun had gone left?
I did not. I'm not surprised I figured Mao Zedong might have been
Well, I didn't know the bull sweated in China shops until just a few minutes ago.
That's what you were doing. But anyway, I think the more egregious thing that I heard about was the letter that Justice Lynn Stewart sent to Judge Roy Moore. I mean, that's crazy.
It was typed up at the BCA, wasn't it, Jack?
I'm sure it was. She's their darling.
Tell us about it.
Well, basically saying, she basically tells Judge Moore he needs to come in and turn in all of his credentials, keys, be escorted out by marshals, I think on the 18th of October or something like that.
If I understand it, he's suspended, not fired.
That's right, suspended, not fired. You fire him, then you can demand all that stuff.
But the COJ didn't have the guts to do that. They backed up and suspended him instead. So this is just way out of line.
But wait a minute, as a little metaphor, little rats running around in a woodpile. Some people think there's a reason why they only suspended him. A lot of people that I've talked to around here says they did that because they didn't want Governor Bentley to have the ability to appoint somebody as the Chief Justice.
I've heard that same rumor.
Well,
that wouldn't surprise me.
The other thing, Jack, is if they'd have thrown him totally off, then he could raise money to run for governor. As long as he's a justice in name, he can't raise money, right?
Right. If you're a justice, you can only run for another judicial position. If you run for one like governor, you have to resign as a judge, and
I think that's by design.
No, sure it is. The whole thing's by design.
Well, Senator Dick Brubaker has filed a bill, a constitutional amendment that would change how this all works. He would have to be impeached just the way the senator would or anybody else. And I hear that somebody else is coming with a bill to basically restructure JIC and just change it so that they can only look at traditional or classic canon law and not go off into these opinions.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a busy session.
Well,
coming right.
Hey, they got a lot of cleaning up to do, and as we talked prior, that they need to do a lot at that ethics commission with that bill as well.
Well, it's a big broom, but I don't know who's going to wield it. It's a lot of dirt, Jack. I tell you, somebody who's not afraid of anybody, and he's getting deep up into some stuff, is this Gerald Dial. And Senator Gerald Dial wants to know why they went after Pouncey.
Right.
Why they went after Pouncey, and he wants to change the rules of how they hire people for the superintendent's job, because now it looks at a high school superintendent, Jack, has to have more credentials than our state superintendent.
That whole thing was the biggest disgrace.
And I was dumbfounded to learn all that.
Absolutely. To bring this joker in from Massachusetts who masqueraded as someone who is against Common Core, but only for Massachusetts, not for Alabama. I mean, they didn't do their homework. They ought to all be voted out.
Well, I don't disagree with you on that. I wonder if they're subject to the ethics laws.
Oh, God, it wouldn't
Probably
matter.
not.
Well, it's a disgrace.
The really interesting point here is that you have all of these requirements for a county superintendent, like they have to have a certificate, they have to have 5 years experience, proof of being a superintendent for 3 years, a degree in a 4-year college, where the state superintendent is appointed at the pleasure of the state board, and has to have moral character with the academic and professional education equivalent to graduation from a standard university or college. Now, we're talking about our top educator
It's a joke.
in the state.
It is an absolute
Well,
joke.
He can get in that position with work experience.
General
No.
Dial is on the march, and I would say he's going to get
I
something
look forward
done.
to helping freely General Dial pass this legislation.
Yeah.
Because no question
This
that
is
needs to
crazy.
be done.
Well, and I think there's a lot of folks that are upset about how this thing. Greg Pouncey has a lawsuit. He's got
Well, he
a lawsuit.
should.
Well, he should.
As he should. And
He
you know,
should.
think about it. In the past, traditionally, the state superintendent has come from within Alabama and has been a superintendent out there in the fields and the ranks.
Well, let's
And
face
if
it,
you look at it,
there's
this
a lot of
one
people didn't like Greg
requirement,
Pouncey because he knew what he was doing.
Right. Then one requirement that Pouncey, they could question Pouncey on because they couldn't question him on his degree or anything like that. The only thing they could go after was the moral character that's right there in what I just read.
Right.
Because the alleged,
the alleged.
you know, the made up,
Yeah,
basically.
they dragged that poor guy through the mud. That's ridiculous.
Well, we only got about 30 seconds here, but I did want to get to the federal government has launched an investigation into our prisons. I'm sure, Jack, they will find nothing amiss.
not a
Oh,
shot.
Bentley says, I welcome the investigation. He's crazier than hell, isn't he? Y'all, he's crazier than I ever thought he was. Welcome him.
Well, apparently
He's
our
crazier
governor has
than a
never
bull
seen
in a
Y'all
china
been to
shop.
the, y'all
We've been
seen
to
him.
two. I guarantee you, Governor Bentley's not been to one.
Well, I don't know about that, and I've been to them too. But the bottom line is, I think that's fine. They're in here investigating them.
Well,
but this,
maybe you ought to get used
this
to what the
only just
inside
gives
looks
them
like.
that ability to push this $800 million
Yeah.
bond
Of
issue
course it
for the
does.
prisons, which is a little egregious, I
Yeah,
believe.
absolutely.
And
But I think the legislators are going to push back on that.
Well, we're going to have to leave
We'll
it right
see.
there. You've been watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.